पूजा जी स्टार्ट कर दीजिए।
Greetings to each one of you present here. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all the dignitaries, guests, and delegates. With great joy and immense exultation, I, Dr. Pooja Joshi, feel privileged to extend my warm welcome to all presented here for the International Virtual Conference 2022. It has become a regular aspect and a part of IDYM Foundation to organize academic program on different burning topics of today's time. IDYM believes in learning better together. I want to extend my warm regards to the founder of IDYM, Engineer Ravi Shankar sir, for his immense support and motivation. Thank you, Ravi sir, for giving us all this wonderful platform, an excellent example of collaborative learning where educators from different parts of the world are sharing their knowledge and information. If we do not act together, we will surely perish. I will repeat, if we do not act together, we will surely perish. By Leonardo da Carpero. That means trust, multiculturalism, collaboration is the need of the hour. And with this virtual conference, we are doing this. Today, we all are here on this virtual conference sharing and sharing all that information which we all have. On this note, I wanted to introduce my co-moderator, Nahid Raza sir, a school principal, English educator, motivator, and a columnist. I welcome you, sir. As we know that climate change is now affecting every country, every continent, and it is disrupting national economies and affecting lives and costing people, communities, and countries dearly today and even more tomorrow. Climate change, demographics, water, food, energy, global health, women, empowerment. These issues are all intertwined. We cannot look at one trend in isolation. We must examine how these trends are woven together. Global climate change has a profound impact on the survival and the development of mankind. It is a major challenge facing all countries. Climate change knows no borders. It will not stop before the Pacific Island, and the whole of the international community here has to shoulder a responsibility to bring about a sustainable development. We are the first generation to be able to end poverty and the last generation that can take steps to avoid the worst impact of the climate change. Future generation will judge us harshly if we fail to uphold our moral and historical responsibility. It's time to take action by working on the 17 SDGs, that is the Sustainable Development Goals, which will bring about affordable, scalable solutions and enable countries to leapfrog to cleaner, more resilient economy. The pace of change is quickening as more people are turning to renewable energy and a range of other measures that will reduce emissions and increase adaptation efforts. We have a choice, either a collective action or a collective suicide. It is in our hand. And we need to follow the three S, that is the science, solution, and the solidarity for a livable planet. On this note, I am profusely elated to take an opportunity to introduce our today's chief guest of the day, Yolanda Peterson from South Africa. We are honored to have you, ma'am, on this platform. I welcome you, ma'am. She has her honorary doctorate in philosophy, specializing in humanitarianism and conflict response. She is the executive director of a strategic project management company, Beckett, SPMS in South Africa. Beckett works on projects within the mining sector, driving women economic development, and on the broader scale projects offering end-to-end solutions with emphasis on women in within industry. She is actively involved in the education sector, educating skills, development, capacity building, and exposure to career guidance and employment opportunities for our youth with an emphasis on the girl child. She sits on a numerous global board and in advisory capacity, driving and affecting change not only in Africa but around the world. Yolanda trains and facilitates modules in negotiation skills for corporate company too. She is a public speaker, avid writer, and a mother to a 7-year-old little girl, Grace. She is a proud global member of IDYM. I heartily welcome on behalf of IDYM, ma'am, to you. The stage is all yours, ma'am. Ma'am, Yolanda, ma'am, Peterson, ma'am. I think there's some network issue from her side because I have seen her. She was there in the meeting. No worries. We'll continue with our program, and when she will pitch in, we'll ask her to deliver her speech. So, moving ahead with our first speaker for today's, I would like to introduce our Laura ma'am from Romania. Laura ma'am, she is the integral part of IDYM and she is very consistently. Laura ma'am, I welcome you, Laura ma'am. Yeah, Laura ma'am, over to you.
Greetings, everyone.
Yes,
am I
ma'am.
audible?
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you for giving me the chance to be here today and to share my opinion on action climate and SDGs. I believe it is very important as an educator. It is our mission to teach the young generations about SDGs. Why should we do that? Because sustainable development goals are the goals that we need in order to make the world a better place. They are all interconnected. All sustainable development goals are connected and they all represent targets that we should reach, that we should use in order to make our world a better place. And we cannot achieve one without the others. So they are all interdependent. If we cannot defeat hunger without thinking about poverty. So these are connected. We cannot have a great industry without first providing education. So that is why I believe that as educators, we need to inspire the young generations to care about the planet and to care about the people living here. We need to be more responsible. This is, in fact, the purpose of the SDGs, to teach the world how to live a sustainable way of life, how to be responsible, how to use the resources that this planet offers us in a responsible way. We see more and more that our planet is in danger. We see so much plastic, so much food that is going to waste, and so many parts of nature that are being affected in a very negative way. So many animal species are dying, and our oxygen, the oxygen we need to survive, is less what we needed for us to be healthy. So that is why we should do something. And this means taking things step by step, because each step we take is a step forward. This is what we need to move forward. If we don't do anything, we cannot achieve anything. But moving forward is the key to achieving the SDGs and to making this world a better and a safe place to live. So my mission as an educator, I believe, is to inspire the young generations, to teach the students of today who will be the leaders of tomorrow that we need to take care of this planet. We need to stop wasting so many things. We need to take care of the things we use every day. For example, plastic. In our school, we try to teach the students not to use single plastic items and even discard plastic for good from their lives. Use as little plastic as possible, because this really affects the planet in a very negative way, has a bad effect on the environment, and of course, this also affects us. Microplastic is everywhere, including in the ice at the North Pole. It has reached that far. And it is in our seas and our oceans and in the fish that we eat. So eventually it ends up in our own bodies. So it is a hazard to our health. Microplastic is a real danger. That is why we should try to avoid using plastic as much as possible. If we do this, this is one of the steps that we can take towards a more sustainable way of life and a better environment, a cleaner environment. Another thing that we can do is to encourage others through actions such as recycling. In our school, we tried recycling different things, starting from the plastic that I mentioned earlier and continuing with metal cans, paper, and many other things that could be recycled. Recycling is very important, and we should teach children that no matter how young they are, they can do this. This is something that they can really do. It is in their power to help the environment, and this makes them feel important. This makes them feel that they are helping, they are doing their part. We had other actions such as we had posters, we had a play, theater play, in which the students told their opinion about saving the planet and helping to combat climate change, to fight climate change. And this really told the whole school and the community how important it is to do something. These may seem like little actions, but for them, it is important, and also for the environment. They are doing something in an active way. This is what we should, this is how we should think about this problem, doing something in an active way, taking a step forward, doing an action today. A contribution, no matter how small, is still a contribution, and it helps. It helps in a small way, but in a significant way. That is why I want to encourage everyone to think about this problem as a part of a solution. Let's try to find solution. Be part of the change. Bring the change, the positive change that we can implement. So every day we should try to do something, because climate change is real. In my country, the climate has changed over the last few years, and we can see it clearly. The change in the seasons, how the crops are affected, how the animals and the plants are affected. So this is something real that we shouldn't ignore. So that is why I want to encourage everyone to do their part and to try to have a positive impact today. So thank you so much for listening to me. And again, I want to encourage all of you to be part of the solution. Fight for the accomplishment of SDGs. SDGs are all dependent one upon the other. So start with education, start with the people, and telling people how important these things are and sustainable development goals are. And then with each one of them, every step is a step forward. Thank you so much, IDYM, for giving me the opportunity to be here today. Keep making the world a better place.
Thank you, Laura Man, for giving an excellent insight about what we need to do. And as we know that we do not inherit the earth of our ancestors, we borrow it for children, remember. So children are going to be the main pillars of our future survival, we can say. And as you mentioned that we need to take a step forward and our children should be taught in such a way, the small, small things which you have just mentioned, reuse, recycle, of simple steps and what your school is doing, like different activities. So different activities, we can create awareness among our children, and then we can bring about the positive change. Every day, we should try to do little things which will help us in saving the environment. We need to be a part of the solution. We need not to be a part of the pollution. Thank you so much, Laura ma'am. Thank you so much for your beautiful insight. Moving ahead, as our chief guest is on the board with us. And on this note, I would like to welcome Dr. Yolanda Peterson, ma'am. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone, and my apologies for coming online a little bit late due to technical issues, but I have logged in. I'm going to start my talk by saying that global warming is not just a problem signaled out by a demographic or by a country. It is all of our problem. And with a sharp incline of rising carbon dioxide emissions into our atmosphere, scientists predict that human activity is 95% the cause for the rapid decline of our planet. Now, over hundreds and thousands of years, the CO2 levels has been fairly consistent and stable. But as a human race, we have been breaking the carbon dioxide records since the industrial evolution in the 1950s. So to date, that is 78 years ago. Now the evidence is irrefutable. Though science is dense around this topic, and other elements such as politics is at play. And when I say politics, politics is riddled with empty promises and the inaction from governments around the world. But one thing is clear: unless we immediately act to reduce greenhouse emissions, it is likely that we will not be able to break through on this world consequence of climate change. Currently, the world is already 1.2 degrees Celsius warmer than in pre-industrial times. And every fraction of degree counts. Research further shows that with a further 0.8% in degrees Celsius rise in global warming, it is only likely that it's not only likely, but we will have more intense droughts, more devastating floods, more wildfires, and more severe storms in a multitude of places around the world. So it is therefore accurate to say that climate change is the crisis of our times. And since we have been building and burning more and more fossil fuel, which is oils and gases, to power up our homes, factories, airplanes, and cars. Now, these fossil fuels, they release the CO2. And in modern day, the crisis persists. With the global population tripling over the past 70 years, the need for power usage will continue to steadily rise, meaning that more fossil fuel is then needed and to burn, releasing more and more harmful heat-trapping gas into our atmosphere. Now, this is either resulting in a conscious or an unconscious disintegration of our planet. The quickening of long-term shifts in temperature and in weather patterns is catastrophic. So besides the harmful emissions of fossil fuel, there is another pollutant, and that is methane. Now, CH4 is released by animals, and with an increase in an ever-growing population, more animal products are consumed, and this is inherently problematic too. Now, these fossil fuels and methane gases are released into the air, and it gets trapped when the sunlight hits the Earth's atmosphere. And some of these gases that gets trapped is a direct result of our climate getting warmer. So this phenomenon is called the greenhouse effect. And with rising sea levels are rising at about 3 millimeters per annum, with melting ice and glaciers from Greenland and Antarctica adding trillions of tons of fresh water into our oceans. The seawater expands, causing rising warmer temperatures. So that means that entire cities could be underwater within the next 80 years or so. Cities like Miami in the United States, or in Osaka, Japan, or entire nations in the Pacific could completely disappear. And that's in a short period of just 80 years. Remember, the pre-industrial period has taken us 78 years to get to where we are at currently as we sit on this online webinar. So natural disasters are becoming more frequent and more intense and more devastating, resulting in thousands of people needing to be evacuated from flooded areas, more and more people needing to migrate from drought-stricken areas, and more people fleeing from whole areas affected by wildfires. Now, this is a real threat to humankind, and certainly a crisis of our time. And we are not doing enough, fast enough. So the question begs, what can be done? What actions could be both taken in our private capacity, governmental capacity, and as a globe as we stand united against the fight against climate change? The saying goes, if we broke it, we can fix it. Now, there is a universal plan to slow down the rapid effects of climate change. Back in 2015, world leaders signed the Paris Agreement. The Paris Climate Accords took effect on the 4th of November 2016. But the fossil fuels used in industry is subsidized by governments around the world, spending about $500 billion per year. That $500 billion is 1% of the global GDP, and they are financially supporting the very thing that is killing us. So let me rehash the primary causes of climate change in a hope, like Laura said, of a solutions-driven mindset. So we know that 50 billion tons of carbon dioxide is released into our atmosphere annually. That is nearly 2/3 of the total emissions. 35% of that is power, and we use that in energy, in electricity, in our heating systems, especially air conditioners, a major contributing factor across the globe. 21% of that 50 billion tons of carbon dioxide is industry, that is our factories and our plants. And 14% of that is transport and aeroplanes, cars, etc. So what can be done? Instead of burning coal and oil, we can use solar panels and wind turbines to generate the same electricity, here's the twist, without harming our planet. And with the advancement of renewable energy, the effectiveness of solar panels and wind turbines has increased, and it is less expensive than in prior years. And we find that solar and wind in modern day is even more economical than burning oil and coal. Now, since it's cheaper, even without us taking any action on climate change, because it's cheaper, more people will get off the grid, will get onto the grid. And this grid parity is a crucial economic tipping point. Another way that we can tackle climate change is through energy storage. Battery technology and other storage solutions are catching up fast. And an added bonus is that all countries have free access to energy and wind, free access to the sun and wind. Other alternatives in fossil renewable energy is nuclear, but that in itself poses its own risks and challenges. Next will be hydro, biofuel, geothermal. In a nutshell, anything is better than burning fossil fuels. Next, we could also impact regulation through carbon pricing schemes, for example, in tax shifting, where governments charges a carbon tax emission, or simply by lowering our own carbon footprint. And again, what action can be taken against climate change in our private capacities? We can consume less animal products. Not only will this lessen the methane gases released, but it will also pose and be of tremendous value to our health. We can educate ourselves, and that is why IDYM is playing such a crucial role in bringing extremely weighty topics such as climate change and sustainability to the table globally. And I want to commend the organization for tackling issues that we all should be speaking about. So instead of turning a blind eye and or going into a panic with where the world is at, we can resource ourselves, we can resource our networks with information. And speaking of resources, we can also use our money, our time, our energy, and our passion, our creativity to drive innovative ideas to fight climate change. We can use our voting power to put climate-aware decision makers into power. Or we could use our voting power to lobby for carbon pricing laws in our respective countries. We can use our purchasing power by investing in solar panels and electric cars, but dare I say electric cars are quite expensive at the moment, but that too will change over the years. So that brings me to how the United Nations SDG 13 can impact our individual action on climate change and sustainability. Each one of us can help limit global warming and take care of our planet. Act Now is the United Nations entity, a campaign fighting climate change, and that harkens a few useful tips. Like I said, number one, make your voice heard by those in power. We could consume less meat and dairy, reducing the methane gas release. We can cut back on our flying. We could leave our cars behind if, when, and should it be needed. We can reduce our personal energy consumption. We can respect and protect green spaces. We can invest our money responsibly. We can cut out consumption and waste. And lastly, we can talk about the changes that we are making and will be making. In closing to the panel and to all who is listening, we only have one planet entrusted into our care, a planet that needs to be safe for generations to come, a world for our children, for our children's children and their children, a planet safe for all of us. Now, each one of us has within our capacity, however limited, the ability to take action and fight against climate change. And again, every little bit helps. And with each corrective step taken, births a brighter future. I will reiterate, if we broke it, it's not a matter of can we fix it? If we broke it, we should fix it. And with this, I conclude my talk, and I look forward to hearing from all of the fellow guest speakers. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Yolanda ma'am, for giving this insightful information and highly inspirational and perfectly pitched to the audience. And as you explained very well, that how carbon emissions has damaged the ozone layer, and if we can't cut down on the carbon, then we need to say goodbye to life on planet Earth. We must now agree on binding review mechanism under international law that this century can credibly be called the century of decarbonization. Action need to be taken by a collaboration by the government, individual, and we need to encourage friends, families, and co-workers to reduce this carbon pollution. And the various ways you have mentioned, like using of the solar panels, battery storage, hydro power, geothermal energy, and regulation is the need of the hour. We need to regulate on our activities. We need to do it either in a collaboration or in a private capacity. Private capacity is our individual action. So capacity means we need to have less consumptions of animal products. We need to educate ourselves. We need to use our money, time, energy to come up with an innovative idea how we can recycle, reuse. And the last thing, which as you mentioned, that we need to use our voting power by becoming a voice of the political institution, political government. In that way, we will be impacting we will be impacting the population in a bigger way. We need to protect the green spaces. We need to be more vocal and more talking about it more often as we are doing on this platform of IDYM. And you rightly said this foundation always come out with this burning topic. And I'm highly thankful to you, ma'am, for giving such a excellent presentation. And the last quote which you mentioned that if we broke it, we need to fix it. Rightly said, ma'am, and this is the takeaway for today's conference, that if we are broken, we need to fix it. We can't leave it like that. Thank you once again, Yolanda ma'am.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Moving ahead with our next speaker of today's, I would like to call upon Dr. Dragan Jovan from Macadamia. Sir, are you there?
Yes.
Sorry if I have pronounced it wrong. So sorry.
No problem.
Yes,
Dr. Dragan, Jovanov.
Dragan Jovanov. Yeah, yes, sir. So the stage is yours. We are waiting
Thank you
to hear
very much. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Thank you. I'm honored to be part of this World Conference today. I speak climate change, agroecology, phytomedicine, my profession. Phytoecology is the further divided into the agriculture ecology, forest ecology, and other. In this sense, agroecology covers the ecology of certain species of plant and animals, but also included studies in the field of agrobusiness and agroecosystem studies. The scientific discipline that deals with the study of external environment in agriculture is called ecology. In other words, agroecology is the ecology of the area for agricultural production. Agroecology as a separate scientific discipline, what is first introduced in the year 1920, although environmental studies, along with studies from the scientific discipline in agriculture, have been conducted for a long time. The foundations of agroecology were laid by Achi. According to Achi, agroecology is a scientific discipline that deals with the study of physical characteristics of the external environment, climate, soil, and etc., in terms of their impact of development of cultivate plants and in terms of the health of those cultivated plants, for the point of view of high and quality of health. Men in agriculture actively act on the factors of the external environment and just change the initial state of those factors. By changing external factors, man tries to adapt them to the need of cultivate plants. Hence, in the short, agroecology deals with the study of environmental factors, climate, soil, relief, and etc., as well as the study of methods that can act on those factors to adapt to needs of cultivated plant. Most food production is based on high input intensive agriculture system with high environmental cost, and as a result, soil, forest, water, air quality, and biodiversity continue to degrade. We need to promote transformative change in the way we produce and consume food. Humans use the natural environment when we do it in a sustainable way, then it means that we meet our needs without harming the environment, so that future generations can live well. Generations type of adaptation. There are four many type of adaptation. Forecast adaptation, changes are made before the effects of climate change preventions. Reactive adaptation, action are taken after something has already happened when farmers acquire new irrigation technologies because due to drought, they can no longer grow their crops. Spontaneous adaptations occurs only in response to change in the environment, natural system, or the market, or due to the well-being human system. When the farmer changes the period when planting crops, because it seems to him that the seasons have changed. Planet adaptation, based of the knowledge that the changes have already occurred or will occur. Decision is made what types of action will be taken in order to return to the previous one to maintain or achieve a new and the desired condition. Photovoltaics, and finish. Photovoltaics, the goal should be a priority to ensure greater energy efficiency worldwide. Recently, in addition to energy efficiency education efforts, a turnkey service offer for the installation of photovoltaic system in households and business should be increased. By using the renewable energy of the sun, a household can cover over 30% of the annual consumption of electricity, and the companies, in addition to realized savings, increase their responsibility and sustainability by using the so-called green energy. The interest in the service is great because the benefits are huge. In the future, this system shall be supplemented and improved, especially in poor countries around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for this comprehensible talk. You talk about the ecological measures that can be taken to reduce the climate change. You talk about the improved agriculture knowledge and the practices. You talk about the irrigation facilities. You talk about to adopt more modern technologies to increase the crop variety. And you talk about the how on a smaller scale things can be worked out. Thank you so much, sir, for giving this presentation.
Thank you very
Moving
much.
ahead with the third speaker for today's evening is Ms. Vilma Dalos Barbosa from Brazil. I welcome you, ma'am, on this platform of IDYM, and you are an integral part of IDYM. Thank you. Welcome, ma'am.
Good morning from Brazil. Thank you so much for having me here again. It's always a great pleasure. May I share my screen, please?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Just a second. Not able to. I'm still not able to share, dear.
Just a minute, ma'am.
Okay.
Are you able to, ma'am?
Not
Share
yet.
the screen? Laura, ma'am, you are the host. You can make Vilma, ma'am, the host so that she can share the screen. Laura, ma'am.
Let me try again.
Yeah, please try, ma'am.
Not possible.
Not possible. Laura, ma'am, are you there, Laura, ma'am? You are the host. You need to give the authority to Vilma, ma'am, to share the screen if you are there. Or the technical team, please make the changes in the settings.
I think Laura is the host.
Yeah, Laura, ma'am, is the host. I am not the host. Laura, ma'am, can you hear us? Vilma, ma'am, you can continue. I will coordinate on the phone. Yeah, ma'am. You can continue. I will coordinate.
Okay. So I've prepared a presentation with some activities that we've been doing here in my town to protect the environment, because I believe that every small change has to be first done in our community. And then if we do some activities in our community with our students, if we teach them how to protect the environment in our schools, little by little, small activities in each school, so soon we're gonna have a better world. And then I prepare some pictures, but I'm still not able to share. Okay. So we've been working with our students and teaching them how to separate the trash in their homes, and also how to influence their parents on separating the trash and not throwing trash on the floor. Also teaching them that it's really, really important that they teach their parents and siblings to protect the environment, to consume less water, not to spend too much time in the shower, also not throwing food, to put on their plate just the food that they will eat, in order not to throw food, because we try convincing them and showing them that there are people that don't have any food, and then that they shouldn't waste food. And then this way we are creating our kids better human beings. We are teaching them to become aware of saving the planet, saving the food, saving water. And with these small activities, we are teaching them also to become more, they are becoming kind people, and then they are taking care of the environment and also their family
Vilma ma'am,
members.
sorry to
Yes?
interrupt. I think you need to try once. They have made the settings change.
Not possible.
Not possible.
Mm-mm.
Only a few
Yes,
change has to be made. Now can you
Laura
do?
is still the, but I can see that there is a co-host.
Yeah, I just called the co-host and she's making the changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not able to share. What if I send my presentation to the host?
Yeah, you send it to me, ma'am. You send it to me.
Mm-hmm. Just a second. I'm gonna share into the, just a moment.
Technical team, please make the changes, as other speakers are also supposed to share the screen. Vilma ma'am, you can continue. So sorry for this technical error glitches. I'm so sorry for that.
Okay, I'm still not able to share. The
Yeah.
presentation
I'm also not
is in
able
the
to share. You
chat.
have shared the link and I'm not able to share because I'm also not the host.
Mm-hmm. May I suggest something?
Yes, ma'am.
What about ending the meeting and starting again? Then Laura won't be the host anymore.
No, ma'am. Then the YouTube link
It's
will be
not possible.
broken now. Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay, only the Laura ma'am can do it because Laura ma'am is the host, and because of the Zoom settings, the co-host is not able to do anything. She just messaged me up. Laura ma'am, are you there, Laura ma'am? Laura ma'am, can you hear us? If anybody know Laura ma'am, can call Laura ma'am personally. Yes, Nirmala ma'am, please call.
Okay. Maybe if you think it's
not
available,
picking up the
maybe
Zoom.
let the next, if the next speaker doesn't have a presentation, maybe we could follow and then I can come later as soon as it's available. What do you think? If the next one
Yeah,
doesn't
but I
have a
think but the
presentation?
next speaker also have to present only. The next
Okay.
speaker is ready with the presentation.
Is there a next one who doesn't have a presentation? Maybe we can follow like that, and then later
Yeah,
we can.
that can be done. That can be done.
Yeah,
I can
from
ask.
my end, I think I would like to present first. If though can't share
Okay.
screen, because I can just do the talking.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Okay. So meanwhile, we'll need to coordinate with Laura man, and I'm extremely sorry for all these technical glitches. Hope you will understand that we are again at the mercy of these technologies. Thank you so much for being so cooperative, Nirmala ma'am and Nirmala ma'am. Yeah.
No
Okay,
problem,
sure.
dear.
So I think I
Yeah.
will introduce my next speaker for today's program, Nirmala ma'am from Malaysia, and she has also been an integral and has been consistent in her delivering of this different topics, delivering the talks on different topics. I welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Wilma, for giving the floor to me. Thank you, Dr. Pooja, for inviting me. First of all, I would like to thank IDYM, Dr. Ravi Shankarji, for giving me this opportunity again and again. It is a kind of like a happiness for me to present an IDYM because we are given the freedom to choose our own own content in order to deliver the presentation. So I've actually prepared the slides for today's session, but however, I'm just going to do the talking from my end as an educator in an elementary school. When actually, for your information, in elementary school and also secondary school and also at all levels in Malaysian education system, we have environmental studies, information related to pollution, recycling, how to lead a sustainable lifestyle and all that. All these elements are embedded in our textbooks across the curriculum. So I'm teaching English language, and one of the topics is about related to what I said, related to environmental issues, and how are we going to teach our students, the little ones, from 7 to 12 years old, in order to take actions. There's no time to have meetings, to have time discussion. What we have to do now is to take actions to teach the little ones. So from my end, I'm doing all I can outside of the textbooks, apart from teaching them the content of the textbook. As you know, they need to have the knowledge. Okay, let's say they're using this plastic bottle, okay, to bring water to school. So I will have to grab this plastic bottle and teach them. Yes, and teach them, there's a recycling symbol, and we can see the number underneath the bottle or the container they are bringing to school, in order to educate them number of times that particular plastic container or bottles have been recycled. So from there, their education starts, so these are the little things they have to know. So so what I think is that when I started the journey in introducing sustainable development goals from my end, I taught them using drawings. Like one of our speakers, they said that drawings, arts and craft, get the little one, they get the little ones know how to engage, and how to know what is actually happening and what are the actions they have to take. For example, let's say something related to climate change. So perhaps we can show, I usually what I do is that I will Google, get them to watch videos pertaining to that and get them draw, color and talk about it. I usually get them to do group work in order to engage them in communication, collaboration, not only teaching related to environmental issues. As a language teacher, I have to make sure that the four C's, communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking happens together with values embedded. So by doing this, I found that my students, they have a lot of opportunities to collaborate in many global platforms from India, Romania, US, UK, many countries, they have collaborated in order to showcase their projects, their mobiles, their prototypes, whatever they have done in our setting, in order to be exchange of knowledge between countries and students, in order to engage them more, to make them understand better. And at the same time, currently I'm running a project with Malaysian Nature Society, where we get the students to bring plastic waste, and then we taught them how to clean the plastic waste and dry them up in order to bring to school and tie them nicely in order to send to recycling centers. Apart from that, during World Earth Day celebration, they have been collaborating virtually in many countries in order to showcase their prototypes and whatever projects they have and all that. And at the same time, students from 7 years old until 12 years old, with the help from 8 of my English language teachers in the department, we have actually conducted many projects. For example, upcycling the plastic waste or any other metal waste, in upcycling them to make it a new product, innovation. Secondly, we get them to draw posters and talk about the posters, and also write captions, save the world, save the earth, draw something like that. And also quiz questions, where we get the students participate, answering like 10 questions, multiple choice questions in bilingual. Our national language is Bahasa Malaysia, so we want to get the students to understand fully. So we have bilingual questions for the students, for the teachers in the school, for the parents and Parent-Teachers Association to collaborate and answer the questions, and to show their support in leading sustainable lifestyles, and also knowing about saving the environment, reducing the plastic waste and all that. And at the same time, we also get them to voice out their concern in how sustainable they are and what are the measures they are taking at home in order to reduce the usage of plastic waste, separating the rubbish, and also collecting other types of rubbish like papers, metals, and all that. So these are the type of education that we are giving for the little ones in order for them to be green warriors. And at the same time, we are also involved in many SDGs related projects with many organizations. And one of the particular project that we joined, organized by Educator, Dr. Kalyani Rao from India, is Satwa International Project, where our students managed to create Borneo Green Garden, and they produce organic fertilizer using coffee beans, banana peel skin, and also the eggshell. So these three are blended together, and then they made organic fertilizer to put for the plants in our project Borneo Green Garden, where we won the first place, the Champion Excellency Award, and the journey still continues. So what I'm trying to say is that though I've done many projects in order to teach my little ones and my educators in my setting, in my school, but I feel that I have to do more. I feel what I've done is still far way back, very little as compared to what many of you are still doing. So I'm looking forward for more engagement from educators here. If you have any projects in sustainable development goals, you may always private message me. So definitely I will get my students join, and we would like to exchange how you all are doing in your setting, like what teacher Wilma, she was about to share, teacher Laura, so we can share in our own settings what are we doing in our setting and what you all are doing in your setting. So as an educator, I always want to empower my students to lead a sustainable lifestyle, to be green warriors, same as many of your students. So it's just that I couldn't show my PowerPoint, but the projects that I've done, I know planting trees, one of the exciting thing that I always encourage my students to do, one plant, one student project, where I educate them to plant trees, because some of my students, I'm teaching in an urban area, so some of my students they have never touched the soil. So I brought them to a nursery to let them to see how the plants are being planted and all that, and show them a lot of YouTube videos, how these plants are being planted and all that. So now I notice there are a lot of changes during World Earth Day celebration. I get my students to plant, to care for the environment. So these are the little steps I'm doing, but I hope to give impacts and to achieve sustainable development goals, United Nations aspirations by 2030. So being an educator, my job is to empower more educators and more students from my setting, Malaysia. That's all from me. I'm teaching in SK St. Patrick. It is an elementary school in Borneo, Sabah. Thank you. That's all from
Thank
me,
you
ma'am.
so much, Nirmala ma'am. It is highly commendable the projects you have taken and the presentation you are showing in the class, that the collaboration, the group work, the exchange program. I am highly impressed, ma'am. And from my school, I would like to, I will come with your proposal that how we can do the exchange program from India, and hope we will do wonders in future. And I like the idea that when we exchange a knowledge, then our information, it's going to happen, it's going to create miracles. And when it
Yes.
comes from the children, the magic is going, as the word, and you use the word green warriors. One
Yes.
plan, one student, the project which you have started. Then the demonstration which you have shown us now for the plastic bottle, that how you explain the student. Really, these small little things, if we start doing in our day to day and we start teaching, then these recycling turn things into other things, which is like a magic. We need to teach our students. We need to be more collaborations. When we recycle whatever we are using, we can come up with good things.
Yes,
we must
ma'am.
start now. We can't wait. It will be too late.
Yes, ma'am,
We need to
definitely.
save this environment. We need to save our planet, and it starts with you and me, the little
Yes.
children.
Yes,
Thank you
ma'am.
so much, Nirmala ma'am, for
Ma'am, if
pitching
you
up
can
and
give
sharing all
me,
your work with us.
thank you, ma'am. If you can give me
Highly
1
commendable.
minute, I can just share screen just to show. I've
Yes,
already
ma'am.
done the
Yes, ma'am.
talking. Just
Yes,
to
yes.
show.
Yes,
Okay. Okay. So as I said earlier, ma'am, the educators, students, parents, and community need to work hand in hand in order to make sure that we educate the students. And this is the Satwa project. This is the World Earth Day celebration project posters. We have also joined with Japan in Eco Bag. As you know, plastic waste is the nationwide issue in Malaysia as well. So we have joined this project. And every year we used to do this World Earth Day celebration, recycling, making tote bag with Indian educators, and planting trees. Wherever projects are happening, I will be there with my students. And latest this is the project that we are doing, 3R recycling, and actively every week students are bringing. We are collecting as many as 30 to 50 kilograms per week to be sent for recycling. Human activity is the main cause of climate change. Sorry for taking up extra minutes. That's all from me. Thank you.
No worries, ma'am. You have shared this PPT, and I would like to suggest that if you share this PPT, we will be making it in the PDF format, and we can publish it in our next edition of the book. As you all know that we are coming up with the first edition of our book, so we can just have it, these presentations or your handouts in our next publication.
Sure,
Thank you,
ma'am.
Nirmala ma'am.
Welcome,
Now,
ma'am.
I think the technical glitches have been over, and Nirmala ma'am have showcased that we all can share the screen. And I would like to call Vilma ma'am for the next speaker. Vilma ma'am, the stage is all yours. This is the beauty of collaboration. If something went wrong, we are all there to help each other. Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my screen now. Thank you so much. So I'm Vilma Barbosa from Brazil, and I'm waiting forward to working with teacher Nimala and her students into the projects. I truly believe that we can make a difference into our students' lives. And as I said before, it's really important that we get started now in our community with our students, because sometimes we have a dream, oh, I want to change the world, I want to make a difference. But how to get started with that? We have to get started now with our students at these moments. And it doesn't matter if they are 5 to 6 years old, they can understand and they can bring the difference into their homes. So let's work with our students now. I love this saying from Greta: you must unite behind the science. You must take action. You must do the impossible, because giving up can never even be an option. So even a small child can make a difference. Climate change is real. It is happening right now. It is the most urgent threat facing our entire species. And we need to work collectively together and stop procrastinating. There are some activities that we've been doing with our students and also in our community that I would like to share with us. So there are some projects for planting trees, and we've been inspiring our kids and helping them to plant trees in our community. There is also a project to save the water, to save the shores into the rivers and planting trees there to have more clean water. So there are many projects in our community, and we've been bringing our students to work on them. We are working with our students to teach them that it's really important that they talk with their parents as well, to collect the oil from cooking, that they don't throw it on the floor. So we collect them on empty plastic bottles, and with this we make soap and donate to people to help them with the cleaning. And then also with old food, we teach them to teach their parents that from the food, first of all, we teach them not to throw away food, just put on their plates the amount of food they're gonna eat. But if in case there is some food left, that they could put it all together and then make it rubbish composting to grow more food. And then we are also teaching our kids how to separate the recycled materials. And then to separate the materials, we have the plastic, the aluminum, and all this stuff. And then we teach them how to separate that, because there is there is a company in my town that goes into the neighborhood and collect the material, and it becomes easier for them if we in our homes, if we separate the trash. And then we are teaching our kids how to do that. And of course, if we teach them, if we engage them, they arrive home and they teach their parents how to do that. And how to clean water from the river to our house. The water that we have in our homes, it comes from the river, and then there is a process to clean the water in order it comes to our house in a clean way. And then with these, we teach our kids to not to waste water while they are washing their hands, while they are brushing their teeth, and while they are having their shower. We teach them and inspire them to be a short period of time using the water in order to save. And then through this process, we show them that it's hard to have the clean water in our homes. And then if they save water, we're going to have water for much more time. And there is an NGO in our town to protect the wildlife. And then with this project, we teach our kids how to protect animals in the neighborhood. And also collecting all the appliances, we are protecting the environment. And then we teach our kids that if they have some old stuff in their homes, they can bring to school, and then we bring it to the proper place in order they don't throw it in the environment. Plastic bottles are collected for an NGO. In our town, we have several NGOs to protect animals, but this is a project that we have with our students also. We ask them to collect these cap bottles, and then with the money, the NGO sell these bottle caps, and then with them, we help animals, we rescue animals from the street, and then we take care of them with the money from the cap bottles. We also have some projects that we teach our kids to make toys from recycled materials, because these days we have the technology there and it's amazing. We can meet people from different countries. We can learn a lot with the internet, but sometimes it's necessary teaching our kids that they have to leave the cell phone away, the technology away, and be with their parents, be with their friends. And then this is a way of teaching them how to do that. Teaching them how to make toys from recycled materials and spend time with their family, with their friends, with their parents-in-law, their parents, grandparents maybe. And then they will be having healthy. They'll be healthier, spending time with family members and also playing, not just using the internet, and also recycling materials. So these are some activities that we've been doing here in our community. What about you? What have you been doing to save the planet in your community, in your school, in your neighborhood? Because there is no plan B. We have to take action now. We have to get started now. That's all for me. Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity once more.
Thank you so much, Vilma ma'am, and for being so patient while these technical glitches were there.
No
and
problem.
Your presentation was very well documented and argumented, and you have emphasized on community activities, which is an important step in bringing about a major climatic change, or we can more impact is given being when we work in group. We can help our kid understand the impact of these actions, and we are likely to have on the environment. And we need to motivate them by giving them such small projects like save water, save soil. And we should should focus on how the small steps or the different household waste should not be gone in like in the drainage. It should be reused, recycled. Parents should follow eco-friendly practices at home that should make the kids learn, understand the concept of reduce, reuse, recycle, and will encourage the kids to work for the sustainability. The kids will adapt and apply in their day-to-day life. You have talked about how you have been doing different things, and really it is remarkable. And we all should follow these things, and we should educate. Education is again the important tool for this bringing about the action in the climate change. Thank you so much, Vilma ma'am. Now, moving ahead with our next speaker for today's, I would like to call upon Renala Lomopu, ma'am. Are you there, ma'am?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
A warm greetings from Greece. Well, greetings. It's a great honor to be invited to this great event, and in order to speak about the globally urgent and very relevant topic about the climate change, which concerns actually each human being. And scientists say that we are actually in the Anthropocene epoch. This Anthropocene epoch now is a unit of geologic time, which is unofficial at present, but describes the most recent period in Earth's history when human activity started to have a significant impact on the planet's climate and ecosystems. The word Anthropocene is derived from the Greek word anthropo, which means man, and scene, which means new. And this term was made popular in 2000. I recommend you to watch a very interesting documentary about this Anthropocene epoch, the human epoch. This it's a cinematic meditation on humans' massive re-engineering of the planet. This, according to scientists, the epoch began in the year 1950 when the Great Acceleration started. The Great Acceleration was a dramatic increase in human activity affecting the planet. Human activities, of course, are changing the climate. Greenhouse gases emitted by human activities alter Earth's energy balance and therefore its climate. Humans also affect climate by changing the nature of the land surfaces, for example, by clearing forests for farming and through the emission of pollutants that affect the amount and type of particles in the atmosphere. Sea levels are rising, oceans are becoming warmer, longer, more intense droughts threaten crops, wildlife, and freshwater supplies, from polar bears in the Arctic to marine turtles of the coast of Africa. Planet's diversity of life is at risk from the changing climate. So this climate change poses a fundamental threat to the places, the species, and people's livelihood. To adequately address this crisis, we must urgently reduce carbon pollution and prepare for the consequences of global warming, which are already experiencing. What are the causes of this? Of course, generating power and heat by burning fossil fuels causes a large chunk of global emissions. Manufacturing goods, because manufacturing industry is one of the largest contributors to greenhouse gas emissions worldwide. Cutting down forest, this deforestation, together with agriculture and other land use changes, responsible for roughly a quarter of global greenhouse emissions. Using transportation, producing food, powering buildings, and overconsuming are among the most important causes. And what could be the effects? Of course, the hotter temperatures. As greenhouse gas concentration rises, so does the global surface temperature. More severe storms, destructive storms, have become more intense and more frequent in many regions. And increased drought, because climate change is changing water availability, making it scarcer in more regions. Global warming exacerbates water shortages in already water-stressed regions and is leading to an increased risk of agricultural droughts affecting crops and ecological droughts, increasing the vulnerability of ecosystems. And at the same time, rising oceans, because the ocean soaks up most of the heat from global warming, and loss of species, not enough food, because changes in the climate, increases in extreme water events are among the reasons behind the global rise in hunger and poor nutrition. Of course, more health risks, because climate change is the single biggest health threat facing humanity. Poverty and displacement, because this increases the factors that put and keep people in poverty, and floods, for instance, may sweep away urban slums, destroying homes and livelihoods. So here in Europe, we have the European Green Deal. It's the Europe's generation agenda for environmental sustainability. And this this way, European Commission pledged to reset its commitment to tackling climate environment related challenges, and has pledged to transform the European Union into a sustainably resource efficient, carbon neutral economy by 2050. And the most important axis of this agenda is how to step up climate and energy policy by reducing greenhouse emissions by at least 50% until 2030, and achieving climate neutrality by 2050, as I said before. Industrial strategy for a carbon-free circular economy in order to foster resource efficiency and climate neutrality in industrial production chains. The Commission intends to double the recycling rate by 2030 to promote sustainable product design, reuse, and recycling. And building, renovating, and energy resource efficient ways to promote sustainable and smart mobility, and preserving or protecting biodiversity, and of course, this zero pollution vision for a toxic-free environment. So many climate change solutions can deliver economic benefits while improving our lives at the same time and protecting our environment. We have also this global framework and agreements to guide progress to sustainable development goals, the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, the Paris Agreement, and three broad categories of action are important: cutting emissions, adapting to climate impacts, and financially required adjustments. Switching energy systems from fossil fuels to renewables like solar or wind will reduce, of course, the emissions driving climate change. But we have to start actually now. Adapting to climate consequences protects people, homes, businesses, livelihoods, infrastructure, and natural ecosystems. Bill Gates in his new book, which is called How to Avoid a Climate Disaster, he suggests that in order to avoid a climate disaster, we have to get to zero greenhouse gas emissions. We need to deploy the tools that we already have, like solar and wind, faster and smarter, And at the same time, we needed to create and roll out breakthrough technologies that can take us the rest of the way, such as sustainable technologies. So Bill Gates describes the areas in which technology is already helping to reduce emissions, where and how the current technology can be made to function more effectively, where breakthrough technologies are needed, and who is working on these essential innovations. And lays out a concrete practical plan for achieving the goal of zero emissions. So climate action requires significant financial investments, of course, by governments, but at the same time, climate inaction is vastly more expensive. And this epoch, the Anthropocene epoch, is characterized, of course, by this rapid global change, necessitating adaptive global governance. And first, people and environment need to be considered together as social, human, ecological, biophysical subsystems that are linked by mutual feedbacks and are independent and co-evolutionary. And secondly, there is a need to foster collaborative approaches to improve social institutional learning, as for example, in adaptive management, collaborative learning networks, and knowledge co-production. Before concluding, to say that I'm an educator and I'm working now at the Greek Ministry of Education at the Directorate of Educational Technology and Innovation. I have written last year, have launched a new program which is called SOS, we're changing the climate. It's addressed to students of to all primary schools in Greece. And it's a project that combines STEM education with environmental awareness, environmental literacy, and arts. Of course, it's based on Sustainable Development Goals, on 5 development goals. And through this program, children will be able to learn about the factors that influence climate, to get involved in authentic problem-solving processes, to strengthen their environmental awareness, to realize that we all have a responsibility to protect the Earth's climate. And some of the activities, STEM activities that I have integrated there are, of course, outdoor activities, because it's important for students to take our students to go out in nature, and in this way they will be able to respect and love nature better. So have included some experiments to simulate weather phenomena to occur in Greece and other places, to take measurements of temperature, of pressure, of humidity, and other weather parameters, to build meteorological stations and other also artistic activities. Through this project, my goal is to highlight environmental issues, to inform and sensitize teachers and students about the phenomenon of climate change, and cultivate the concept of global active citizenship. And this way, students can be encouraged to deal systematically with scientific environmental issues from an early age. Therefore, they can enhance the social sensitivity, the ecological consciousness, and their environmental responsibility. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Rania ma'am, for giving this wonderful informative talk, talking about the poverty and talking about the zero thing. And as we know that this is the first SDG. And we know that climate change and global poverty are the two sides of the same coin. And both, if challenged, must be addressed together. If we fail on one, we also fail on the other. So it has to be a balance between the two. We need to work upon this goal very diligently, and we need to focus. And it's about why we are growing inequality is a determinant of economic growth and undermines that how much we are doing. So it is very much needed that the social cohesion, increasing political and social tensions are some of the problems which is increasing this poverty or bringing about this instability and conflict. So there's a need that the government should come up with different projects which create an enabling environment to generate productive employment and better job opportunities. I think these were the takeaways from your talk, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being there with us on this conference. We are highly obliged. Yeah, moving ahead with our next speaker for today is Ms. Azra Tahajini from Iran, an educator from Iran. Ma'am, I think she is not there in the meeting. So without wasting any more time, I would like to hand over my stage to my co-moderator, Nahid Raza sir, I have given an introduction, who is an educator, principal, motivator, and a columnist. So I welcome you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now over to you, sir.
Thank you indeed. Thank you, ma'am. Speakers have spoken much about action on climate change. I welcome you all. Greetings to all. Now I would like to invite Raden Roro Martinsi, Roro mathematics teacher from Indonesia. She teaches in SMP Muhammadiyah Surabaya. She is Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert, Google Certified Trainer, Ruma Ambassador, Video Maker, and an expert in gaming and PowerPoint presentation. Thank you. You most welcome.
Thank you. Nice word. Can I share screen, Mr. Nahidrasa? Can I share screen? Okay, thank you. Thank you for the nice opportunity to me to share my screen. Thanks for Raffi Sankar Kumar. Thanks for Yolanda Peterson and Miss Dindul Asmi. Thanks for all speaker and moderator that invite me to beautiful beautiful part here. What needs to happen addressing the climate crisis and water scarcity will take more than individual effort. If government, business and global leaders take ambitious, comprehensive, and urgent action now, we can limit the impact of the climate crisis and water scarcity and ensure a safe and healthy future for the world's children. Reduce greenhouse gas emission. The world is on a catastrophic path of global heating. Instead of an overall reduction in greenhouse gas emission by 2030, current estimates predict that these emissions will increase. Government must take bold, urgent action to urgently reduce greenhouse gas to achieve net zero emission by 2050. Like what greenhouse gas emission is from energy supply, greenhouse gas emission from industry, greenhouse gas emission from forestry, greenhouse gas emission from commercial building, greenhouse gas emission from residential building, greenhouse gas emission from electricity supply, greenhouse gas emission from waste and wastewater, greenhouse gas emission from transportation, and etc. Increase investment in climate adaptation to protect children and communities from the worst impact of climate change. Critical services like water, sanitation, hygiene, healthcare, and education must be adapted to withstand extreme weather events and climate variability. Increased investment in climate adaptation is for children must also receive climate education and green skill who prepare for the effect of climate change. Include young people in climate negotiation. Children and young people will face the full devastating consequences of climate change. Yet they are the least responsible for the impacts. They have a right to have their voice heard. Government must formally include young people in all nation, regional, and international climate negotiation and decision. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you much, ma'am. Ma'am has talked about the global heating, and she has given solution net zero emission by 2050. She has suggested to include young people. Thank you very much, ma'am. Could I invite Arena Biba from Albania? Serena Bieber from Albania. Our next speaker is Melissa Esposito from Italy. She has been teaching mathematics in high school for 28 years, interested in different projects, including e-twinning projects, Nearport Certified Educator, Verified Educator on Pivot Academy, and Puzzle Coach, and a Wakanet community leader. She works with coding and gamification, international speaker on education, global community leader for Gen Global Education Network, brand ambassador, Italy for All Lives Do Exist, advisor for Glory Future, Foundation country director for DIAS and Big Brain. Melissa Esposito, you're most welcome.
Hello, I am here. Can I share my screen?
Most welcome.
Okay. Do you see my presentation? Yes? Okay. I want to speak to you about Goal 13, the 2030 Agenda, Acting for the Climate. Goal 13 of the 2030 Agenda aims to reduce the impact of climate change, the effects of which could make our planet unsuitable for humans. We are already witnessing worrying environmental consequences, desertification, rising seas, and so on. But the future holds more catastrophic scenarios if the counteraction is not rapid and effective. Climate change is the main problem of our time and the greatest challenge to be faced for sustainable development. An unbearable climate. One of the most troubling effects of climate change is global warming. This phenomenon does not stop. On the contrary, it accelerates. In 2018, the global average temperature was about 1 centigrade higher than the pre-industrial level. An aspect closely related to the increase in global temperature is the increase of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. In particular, CO2 emissions have grown steadily, and the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere corresponds to 156% of the pre-industrial one, as 2017 data says. This worldwide trend has some differences between countries. Those with high income in general have limited their emissions over the years, while those with medium-low income, due to the lack of suitable policies and tools, have greatly increased them. The overall result is certainly not good for the planet. Extreme phenomena. The climate change has already caused a serious damage to the life of the planet and of mankind. This slow but inexorable process is changing and will change the appearance of our planet. The polar ice caps will shrink, and the melting of all of the glaciers will lead to an increase in the sea level that will cover the lower lands, including also my country, Italy. According to the 2013 report on the IPCC, the global sea level is a scientific assessment to rise between 40 and 80 centimeters for over the next century. In light of recent research, however, it is feared that this process could accelerate with the increase in temperatures. Meteorological phenomena will become more extreme. Hurricanes and tornadoes increasingly violent, drying up of large areas now covered with vegetation, while the rains will increase in currently desert areas. Future scenarios and world well-being. The World Bank has designed two possible future scenarios in relation to the distribution of rainfall between the beginning of and the end of the 21st century, with low or high CO2 emissions. In both cases, the reference term is the average temperature above 35 centigrades. The considerations concern not only obvious consequences, such as the desertification of the most affected areas, but also in indirect and more general consequences concerning the increase in the consumption of energy sources to cope the head of the deterioration of health conditions. Here you can forecast of the number of days with a temperature above 35 centigrades. The next decades based on the distribution of precipitation above the scenario in the case of low pollution emissions below the scenario with the high emissions. This global phenomenon also has more general implications. It has been calculated that from 1998 to 2017, climate-related environmental disasters accounted for almost 80% of economic losses due to natural disasters. In the same period, more than 1 million victims were attributed to geophysical disasters. The effects of climate change will also have repercussions on society, with a global increase in poverty. And here you can see the effects of change on world's well-being. Acting for the climate, what to do? Goal 13 is of crucial importance to global sustainability goals and is very ambitious. Global carbon dioxide emissions are expected to decline by around 50% by 2030 compared to 2010 levels, to reach net zero emissions by 2050. To avoid irreversible consequences, the rise in the global temperatures must be contained below 2 grades. This objective involves rapid and far-reaching actions in the field of energy, infrastructure, industrial and urban systems. This is what was established by the Paris Agreement, reached on 12 December 2015 at the United Nations Annual Conference on Global Warming. The agreement was signed by 195 countries and the European Union. In May 2019, the parties that ratified the agreement were 186. These shared action find its concretization in the so-called NDC, nationally determined contributions. These are objectives established by individual countries at a national level autonomously and voluntarily to contribute to the overall goal. The European Union, for example, intends to reduce emissions by 55% compared to 1990 by 2030, increase the use of renewable energy sources by 27%, and even create a climate-neutral economy by 2050. Unfortunately, according to constantly United Nations audits, these commitments, even if respected, will cause the global average temperature to rise by 3 grades between now and 21. It means that if drastic corrective measures are not introduced, we will go from one state to another of climate crisis to conditions of climate catastrophe. For this reason, the United Nations itself has asked the world to present the new NDCs, and the next COP postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Sendai framework from disaster risk reduction. Another important step of the international community in the fight against the effects of climate change is the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction, 2017-15 to 2030. Entered into force on March 15, 2015, it is a reference framework for climate policies valid until 2030, which aims to reduce the risk of environmental disasters. On the basis of this protocol, strategies have been implemented to deal with the numerous disasters of recent decades, which have occurred with increasing levels of intensity and frequency. Over 180 countries have joined, including my country, Italy, committed to reducing the victims of disasters and limiting economic damage. 7 global goals has been set to be achieved by 2030. First, reduction in the number of victims caused by disasters. Second, reduction in the number of people affected by disasters. Third, reduction of direct economic loss. Fourth, reduction of damage produced by disasters on critical infrastructures and basic services. Then increase in the number of countries with disaster risk reduction strategies, and then strengthening of international cooperation aimed at developing countries, and at the end, increase the availability and access to multi-risk early warning systems. United Nations initiatives are a lot. The fight against climate change can only be carried out with a clear commitment from governments, but we can also work to help the populations of the most vulnerable areas. Among the numerous projects implemented by the United Nations Development Programme for aid for adaptation to climate change in progress, the fight against climate change in the Amazon rainforest of Peru has particular significance. The indigenous population living in the forest today works to defend the region from constant devastation. The project is supported by RED, plus the mechanism adopted since 27 to encourage the reduction of emissions due to deforestation throughout the conservation and sustainable management of forests in developing countries. Another project is being implemented in Mali to help women in the country to provide their families with water and food. The drought, due to the ever shorter rainy season, reduces the harvests that are no longer sufficient for sustenance. This project supports the women's cooperative by offering them technical training on sustainable agricultural practices and by providing solar panels that power wells and equipment to transform wet in flow. The vegetables obtained from crops feed families are also partly sold. These are all the goals of the 13 goal of the agenda, and you can read it. What does it happen in Italy? A worrying slowdown. According to the SVIS 2019 report on Goal 13, Italy has recorded mixed results in recent years. In fact, after a period of policies in favor of the environment, from 2014, our country slowed down in the following 3 years. In particular, the deficit can be attributed to the total greenhouse gas emissions of the production sector. Family consumption is responsible for about 1/3 of the total. Due to this slowdown, Italy is therefore still far from fully achieving the goal. However, it has equipped itself with some tools to keep up with the 2030 agenda, the National Sustainable Development Strategy and the National Plan for Adaptation to Climate Change, which are still in the approval phase. Another economic policy tool that can help Italy contribute to climate mitigation is the European Greenhouse Gas Emissions Trading System. It is a system for controlling the emissions generated by the production sector. Each industrial operator must offset its actual emissions with a corresponding quantity of allowances that are sold on the market. Here you can see the trend of the indicator developed by ASVIS for Italy for the adoption of urgent measures in the fight against climate change and its consequences. A vastness of billions lost. The global climate issue can also be considered from an economic perspective. First of all, given the picture of the forecast, there are not rosy at all. It is necessary to evaluate the ongoing expenses due to the commitments for climate mitigation undertaken by the individual countries. For example, in 2015-2016 two-year period, investments in activities of this type increased by 17% compared to those in the 2013-2014 two-year period. An encouraging trend which demonstrates the concrete commitment of governments. However, it must be remembered that investment in fossil fuels worldwide continue to be higher than those in climate activities. In other words, in economic terms, something is being done for the climate. Much more could be done. Furthermore, failure to achieve the objectives of the Paris Agreement will result in additional economic efforts. The researchers' forecast speaks of astronomical figures, which are around $500,000 billion between now and the end of the century. And here you can see the forecast of global temperature increase in reference to the Paris Agreement. Not respecting the commitments made by could therefore cost us very dearly, not only in environmental terms, but also in economic terms. Then there is another question to be addressed. How much would be gained if we were able to contain the rise in temperatures within the limits set by the international community? This figure has been estimated at around 400 trillion. The climate issue confronts humanity with the choice also of an economic nature, investing even more substantial resources to chase the effects of climate change or climate lifestyle, also gaining economic well-being. Some reflections. Watch this time lapse made by NASA that reproduces data on global climate anomalies recorded between 1880 and 2019. Try to describe what you saw in a considered climate history, enriching it with your reflections on the sustainability of world development. Look at the thematic map on the World Bank with the forecast of changes in precipitation in the case of high CO2 emissions. How do you think the landscape of Central Africa would change from the Congo Basin to the Horn of Africa? Prepare a short report with your conclusions. On the NASA website dedicated to the climate data of the current situation, reported the level of CO2 emissions, increase in average temperatures, melting of ice, sea levels rise. Prepare a presentation that visualizes this data and accompanying it with a short explanation text. Article 1 of the United Nations Convention on Climate Change states that changes in climate are directly or indirectly attributable to human activity that alters the composition of the world atmosphere and adds to the normal observed variables over comparable periods, referring to the distinction between natural and anthropogenic causes. It prepares a conceptual map of the causes and effects of global warming. Invent the future. To understand the consequences of climate change, understand the connection that exists between the different factors, environmental and anthropogenic, you can use the website that allows you to simulate different future scenarios by modifying some variables relating to energy, transport, industry, population, pollution. What can we do? Recycle paper, glass, plastic, metal, and all electronic components, compost food waste. This can reduce the impact on the climate. Choose ecological and reusable products. Read the packaging to see if the products are produced in an environmentally friendly way. Use an ecological shopping bag and reusable water bottle or cup to reduce plastic waste. Reduce the use of paper, avoid printing and replacing it with electronic devices or media. Don't shop for pets. Visit your local animal shelter and adopt an animal there. Pedaling, walking, or taking public transport. Save can trips for when you have a large group. Keep us informed by following local and international news on the available media, TV, media, magazines, and newspapers. I want to thank you for listening to me and all of you for the great opportunity given me to share my thoughts. And I close my presentation.
Meticulous presentation. Melissa has spoken at length. She has talked about extreme phenomena, future scenario, and articulated solution and commitment. Above all, she has talked about reflections. Thank you, ma'am. Now I have opportunity to invite Ray Paul Kiliho from Tanzania.
Thank you so much, moderator, for this opportunity. And I wish to congratulate my previous speakers for very detailed, very enriching, insightful presentations around various matters of climate action and SDGs. I truly applaud your insights and presentations. So my name is Ray. I'm from Tanzania, and I wish to embark on a subject. I'll be very brief. I won't be falling far apart from the previous speaker. She underscored the importance of following up on the NDCs. As we all know, the recent climate report, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change 6 assessment report, has showed us the urgency we have to take with regard to climate change. And now more than ever, we are in a position to raise our ambitions to be sure we reach two things. One, we keep our temperature before 1.5 degrees by 2025, but also the whole paradigm that comes with the impacts of climate change to communities and people. That would be increasing our efforts to adaptation, but ensuring that communities, people, businesses are more resilient to climate change as well. And so I would like to stress my contribution around three things. Number one, the report urges us as countries, both countries and states, to increase our ambitions. This would be maybe previously countries would have been very reluctant in setting our NDCs, our nationally determined contributions. And so now with the climate emergency, we are urged to increase the ambitions of our determined contributions, both contributions in reducing decarbonization rates, but as well as ambitions to raise ambitions to improve more adaptation and resilience capabilities. This is more important if we are to keep up with the various and extreme events of climate change that continue to disrupt lives and communities. The second area I would like to stress upon in our urge to addressing climate emergency and climate change is inclusivity. This is very important. As we know today, our greatest populations are very young, and young people face a lot of challenges. Young people and women especially face challenges when it comes to accessing or being included in solutions to combat climate change. There is a various issues that result to young people and women being, excluded in a way to the whole equation of climate action. One is young people may not be very much subject matter experts. That is one challenge. But also lack of climate financing, specifically for youth and women, which takes into concern the various specific characteristics of young people and women into the climate action. So these areas are very much important. And lastly, I would like to raise on a point of increasing ambition to mobilize climate financing. Because today, more than ever, we have seen a lot of efforts from the UNFCCC framework, from the Paris Agreement framework, to mobilize climate finance. Now, we know very well that the pledge from developed nations to keep up with the pledge for climate finance has never been, very much equivocal to the contributions that have been available. And the impacts of climate change continue to disrupt lives, and we need more financing to be able to act to climate actions. And so I call upon an opportunity for states, for corporations, to look into a capability of mobilizing finance inward, not expecting from development financing, from that would be foreign aid, but to put it as part of our own strategy in order to mobilize finance from our own private sector, to have a strategy to value more quality of climate action more than quantity, that we would just be able to appear on posters or on a blog post. And so to finalize my contribution, I call upon highlighting on 3 points. One is for states and corporations, businesses, and people to raise our ambitions to climate action at a very personal level, at institutional level, but also at a community level. Secondly, to raise our ambitions to value the quantity and quality of impact we want to see from climate action, and to be sure our impact is associated and can be measured with the relative impact that is supposed to be happening in our environment. And lastly, I like to underscore the importance of inclusivity, because young people and children may not be in capacity to be financially capable to address climate action today, but young people and children will bear the impacts of climate change 50 years from now, 100 years from now. So I've seen my previous presenters showing how they're engaging young people and children as well into this equation. That is tremendously important. I would also like to call upon more strength into that aspect. Overall, I thank you for this opportunity and hereby wish to submit. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You stressed on contribution, inclusivity, and climate finance. Thank you very much, sir. Now, I would like to invite Patricia Gonde from Zimbabwe. She is head of the academics, educational for 31 years, author, speaker, global coordinator, global awardee, ambassador, and country director. You're most welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Nahid Razaseh. I would like to thank IDYM group of companies, which has given me this opportunity today to talk about the action on climate change and SDG on this climate change conference. Thank you, Ravi. Sir. SDG on climate change, we know that it's SDG number 13. And when we are talking about climate change, we are talking about the global patterns or the shifts in the temperature and the weather patterns may be caused due to natural causes or maybe human activity. Because we're saying we talked about global warming, and mostly it has effects on humans and animals. For example, we experience heat waves, we experience heat stress, severe storms, sometimes some cyclones, and then these impact negatively, especially on humans. For example, when we are talking about the heat wave, so many people get diseases. So many people suffer some, so have some allergies. And this, as we see that SDG 13 can be linked to other SDGs like on health. And then when we are talking about the effects of climate action, if we talk about drought, we are also, it's also linked to SDG number 6, which is on clean water and sanitation. So what has happened in my country is that we have received severe storms in some parts of the country, and what the country has done, it has done so many things. In the weekend of 14th to 17th of March, there was severe storms. There was a cyclone called Cyclone Idym, whereby it caused high winds and there was heavy rainfall, and it affected in that area 270,000 people. Didn't only affect the people, it also affected animals as well. There was a landslide and it contributed to loss of lives. About 340 people died and some were missing. Even my workmates, one of my workmates also lost a sister. He doesn't even know where her sister is, but she was washed away. The sister, the husband, and one child, but they managed to find their husband and the child, but they don't know what happened to the sister. So it led to so many social effects, like some children were left orphaned, some of them because it caused damages to the infrastructure, to buildings. The schools were washed away, the police station, the whole town was washed off due to that cyclone. And we can see that because of global warming, that's when we are the causes of that, because of maybe greenhouse emissions. We are burning fossil fuels. There are so many things that we are doing that are contributing to so these disasters. As my country is an agriculture-based economy, we have been affected quite a lot because of drought. We had about 8 years whereby we didn't receive enough rainfall, so much that Zimbabwe used to be the breadbasket of Southern Africa, but we are no longer doing that because of the changes in the climate caused by global warming. So it has affected the economy. So many people have lost jobs. Also, this also contributes to poor nutrition, and then people suffering from many diseases. Just like I said, like Cyclone Idai, it displaced more than 51,000 people, and so many people were left without shelter, no clothes, no food. So what happens is that whenever there is a natural disaster like this, we tend to react. We tend to be reactive instead of being proactive. Our country was caught unaware because they do not have a disaster risk management plan that is in place. If it had that disaster risk management plan, maybe so many people wouldn't have suffered quite a lot, because then what happened after the cyclone Idai? So many people were affected. They didn't have any houses, they didn't have any food, they didn't have anything in their lives, and they went to squatter at a place. You know that where there are so many people, the diseases, so many people are affected by diseases because they spread so quickly. What happens there now? There are some effects that come into effect, like prostitution happens, because now some people do not have food to eat. They tend to think that if I go and find money that way, then I can feed my family. So there were so many effects caused by this cyclone Idai, as schools were washed away. So it means it also affected SDG number 4 and SDG number 5 on gender equality, because most of the girls now were victims of people who were sleeping in one place. There was no privacy. So it means that for each and every country, it should have what we call a disaster risk management plan, or it should have disaster risk reduction. So yes, the civil protection tried to go there, but because of a strain in a lack of resources, they were not able to help the people until they had to call every Zimbabwean and every our neighboring countries to come in and help. So they came in, they brought, some people brought food, some people brought clothes, some people brought shelter, but they forgot about the mental health of people who were affected because of a loss of their livelihoods, because of some of them lost their relatives. So they needed that psychosocial support. So this is what happens when a country is caught unaware. So what then happened is that soon after that, there were plans that were put in place by the they had to go and look for aid. Then they managed to get some funds from the Green Climate Funding, which was able now for them to build some schools. But some children had already lost their families. And then the government chipped in. Then there was a program on basic education assistance module whereby they assisted those children. But you see, with corruption, with the red tape, bureaucracy, some of the children did not even get that help. So now they are still struggling, although they have managed to make sure that all the children are going back to school. Besides that, then, with the drought happening in Zimbabwe, there wasn't any what can I say, in terms of food shortages, there were food shortages. So the social welfare department had to come in and help those people and improve on food security. So we see that the effects of climate change can be so disastrous, so much that some people haven't even gone back to their normal lives. I know that United Nations Development Program has chipped in here and there to help, but we in the education sector, some of the education officers had to make sure that each and every school had to have some books for the children, some uniforms, so each and everyone chipped in. So this is what our country faced, and I know that so many countries can also have similar problems. So what are we doing now in our schools, like my schools that are the in working? We okay, I was muted. In our school, we try by all means, especially through life skills, to teach our children, especially to manage the environment. Like this week, we are closing schools, but we make sure that each and every month we have what we call a clean up campaign, whereby all the children from 4 years up to 12 years, it's a primary school, they go out there and make sure that the environment surrounding them is clean. So we are imparting skills on environmental management as years. Besides that, in our clubs, we have what we call a gardening club, where children are taught and are given skills on planting vegetables, planting maize. We are giving them those life skills. Then we also make sure that our children, we have what we call a school recycling program, where we use recycling bins, and children are taught this is for metal, this is for plastic, and these are used for recycling purposes when we are doing an art and craft as a subject, because we have visual arts as a subject. They can use it to make instruments for music. They can use it when we have our carnival. We've got our costumes that we make. We have our props that we make using the recycled metals or plastic. And then we try by all means to make sure that even our ECD department, our early childhood department, has got some playground equipment that we have made using recycled tires, for example. When the recycled tires, we use them to decorate. We also use them, we cut them up and we make some swings from them. So in doing so, we are teaching our children reusing and recycling. Then in gardening as well, we use there's a organic and inorganic fertilizer. So we make sure that we teach our children, especially from grade 1s, 2s, on how to make compost. The compost now is used in our gardens instead of using what? Fertilizer. So this is what we teach our children. And then behind our school, there is a park, a bird park there. So many birds go there and they are being fed. We have made in our projects for the Cambridge curriculum, there are projects that they do in science whereby they make some bird feeders. So the birds now go to feed whatever we have. We make sure that they feed from those bird feeders. So this is what we have been doing in our school in terms of teaching our children life skills and making sure they reuse, recycle. We say we reduce, we reuse, and we recycle. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share with you.
Thank you, ma'am. You have talked about clean water and sanitation, cyclone, and we are the causes. You have also talked about droughts, environmental cleanliness, gardening club, and you have talked about recycled tires. Thank you very much indeed. Over to Joshi. Thank you.
Namaste.
So,
thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Petrika ma'am, and thank you everyone for those stimulating, inspiring, informative, and comprehensive structures, talk shows, or the presentation you have presented today. We sincerely appreciate your efforts and support for this IDVM Foundation. You all have been there since 7 o'clock, and it's been 9:15. Thank you so much. And I think before I would like to wind up, I would end up with these saying that all that hard work that brought us here will be in vain if we cannot bring about a climate change. So we need to make this topic more talk about, more vocal about, and we need that. The climate change increasingly poses one of the biggest long-term investments. The world is interconnected. No matter how small or insignificant the change might be, we need to do it for the prosperity of our people. That this is not about the environment, it's about the community, it's about the job, it's about the justice. Everyone is accountable. The climate crisis has already been solved when we are talking about it, when we already have the facts and the solution. All we need to do is wake up and change. I still remember the words, these are the words of our child activist, the climate activist, Greta. So you, me, and us need to join hand and bring all the pieces necessary to break the toxic cycle of climatic change. So with this, I would like to present one and I will present one video.
Development around the world. Their mission is huge, but we're breaking it down in 2 minutes. 17 sustainable development goals. Let's get to them, cause the more you know. Look, in some corners of the world today, people are living on $1 a day. Hey, that's not how it ought to be. So go 1, eliminate poverty, and go 2, root out hunger across the globe. There's 800 million people hungry if you want to know. Number 3 is health and well-being, and getting people the health care that they need in. Learning in school are the hard to go for. Education opens up minds and doors. Goal number 5 is empower girls and women so they can have the same rights that men are given. Number 6, people need water that's clean. Poor sanitation can spread disease. Carbon-free energy is goal number 7, and how to achieve it is a question that's pressing. But if we put our minds together and work hard, we can find a solution, I'm guessing. 17 sustainable development goals to improve life all around the globe. Protecting human health and the environment. Whatever bed we make, we gon' have to lie in it. 17 sustainable development goals to improve life all around the globe. protecting human health and the environment. Whatever bed we make, we gon' have to lie in it. Now imagine that you work all day for no pay. Economic growth and decent work is goal 8. Goal number 9 is to foster innovation in infrastructure and industrialization. Goal number 10, inequality reduction. 11 is sustainable city construction. 12, well, that's sustainable consumption. So what we use matches up with production. Goal 13 calls for urgent action to combat climate change, cause we know it's happening. 14, protect life under seas. 15, protect life on land. Goal 16 is for peace and justice all over the planet. They're in high demand. And the final goal, number 17, is the critical factor, the heart of the machine. It's the strength in the way we achieve these goals of sustainable development around the globe. Yo, 17 sustainable development goals to improve life all around the globe, protecting human health and the environment. Whatever bed we make, we gon' have to lie in it. 17 sustainable development goals to improve life all around the globe, protecting human health and the environment.
So I think this should be a national anthem for all of us. We should be talking about more of SDGs. And I would like to thank once again everyone for being there. Peterson ma'am for being there, for the chief guest, and from since we started and you are till end, being patiently listening to all the speakers. It means a lot. All my gratitudes to all the speakers present today. Thank you so much once again. Good night. And we are come to the end. So if anybody wants to share the views, the platform is open for all of you. Bye-bye, Malisha ma'am. Bye. Good night. We'll meet again for the next session.
Yes.
Now it's like a family. We know each other. It's like a family. We have been meeting on the weekend. Yeah, we have been meeting on the weekends, and it's really lovely to see you all.
Okay, I would like to thank, especially when given this opportunity, because where you say, if it is one voice, yes, you can be heard, but if we amplify our voices, I think and come together like this, we raise awareness, especially in issues that affect our societies.
Yes, ma'am. And I want to meet all of you in person, ma'am. You all need to come to India and meet.
Very soon, we'll come to India.
Yeah, do let us know, ma'am.
All
we'll
right.
organize a big event for all of you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Good night.
Okay, namaste.
Bye.
Okay.
Namaste, bye-bye.